let's do our news. Let's just do our news blast. A little headline hash here, guys.
I'll try not to interrupt.
That's all good. It's all your interruptions are always. You can get your toke. Save it for your toke at the end. We'll give you a little 30 seconds to round it all up, all the headlines. You, of course, can follow us on the socials in a couple of locations. We do most of our tweeting over at Twitter, and I'm mostly on Twitter at DC420LA. The show has one also at Reefer Rev Show, and you can find us on all the socials at either D and or both. Follow us at DC420LA and Reefer Rev Show, also over there on Instagram, and you'll see the adventures of Oscar Grumbledore, which he got extra grumpy yesterday.
He did.
And bit his master's face, not Chela's, but mine. Can't tell though, can you? The magic of cannabis. Follow us over there at the socials, at DC420LA and at Reefer Rev Show. And you can also get our take on the week's news in one massive newsletter. We know, of course, Marijuana Moment does his daily. That's awesome, but I just couldn't do it every day. So kudos to him because of Tom Angel over there and Kyle and everybody else over at Marijuana Moment, because I get a lot from there. But I put my newsletter out on Saturdays at 4:20, and it is jam-packed with the week's news that we talk about here on the show every week. So this week, of course, with the help of some strawberry cough, and which is a very nice, I believe, also a sativa, as well as some SFOG today. We are looking at some stories out of the national end. It looks like it's hot and heavy in Washington, D.C., folks. Everybody is moving. The Republicans are moving their bills with research and for the veterans, and the Democrats are moving forward on social justice and getting it off the schedule under their tax and regulate scheme. But it's hot and heavy in Washington. I got my stories out of order. I don't know how that happened.
Go with the flow, babe.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Enjoy the show. But this came in late and really is the top story of the week for us.
It's really a good story.
And we're going to break it down. In the age of luxury cannabis, it's time to talk about drug war reparations. And it's a really, really in-depth article that looks at the history of the drug war, as well as what's going on now in this rush, this green rush. So we're going to get into that a little bit, as well as talking about what's going on the federal level, this being the big year. We thought 2018 was a big year for cannabis. 2019 apparently is going to be off the hazook, off the hookah, as it were, which is no reference at all, actually. Makes no sense. But why the Politico article? Politico asks why 2019 could be, or actually not even a question, just states why 2019 could be marijuana's biggest year yet. And we're going to take a look at that. We got some videos in the afterburn that interviews this article's author. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We did talk about the fact that the lawmakers are racing to introduce veterans medical marijuana bills in the new Congress. Those are going to get some play. The States Act is going to get some play. Everybody seems confident about that, too. And this little nugget came up. The Democrats could decriminalize marijuana using Trump shutdown strategy. There was some hyperbolic threats on the floor of Congress about what we could do during what the Democrats could do during a shutdown. And let me just say this. I don't think legalizing cannabis would be anything they would even think of doing and actually getting done. Because if they could actually do it, and then it would be done, and then they'd be in trouble. So, because they're only on board because, it's political season. Meanwhile, let's take a look at those states, Donald. What's going on? Massachusetts rakes in $24 million in the first 2 months in only like 2 stores. And now they've issued all of their retail licenses, and they are going to be up and running fully in the next reporting. So it's off to the races on the East Coast with Massachusetts, New England. Sorry, that's New England. Whereas in Michigan, moving over to the Midwest, we already see some action there. This is a big story for Chela this week, and we're going to talk about it in the first hour. It is a big story. This another lawsuit in Michigan to, guess what, get it off the Controlled Substances Act of the state. That's a novel idea. That's something we should have done in California, and something we're going to think about pushing here. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, in Colorado, friend of the show, Alexis Bortel graces the cover, her photo with Dean, her father, there. And but they're not talking about that case or even her condition. They're talking about a Colorado bill, a new one coming through that's going to allow medical marijuana for autism. That, of course, was vetoed by Hickenlooper. And we have the pot governor, Jared Polis. He left the Cannabis Caucus in Washington, but now he's in the governor's house in Colorado, and we're going to see a bill debated and probably passed and signed to allow autism in Colorado. So that's good news. And to back them up, there's a new study out of Israel reported on by Leafly with just that cannabis is, guess what, helps autism. Helps everything. But we're getting more and more science about all kinds of things, autism being one of them. So there you go. Good news. Meanwhile, California starts its heavy metal testing. And guess what? Found some metal. Not very funny, actually. Not funny at all. We've got lead in the vape carts.
Not a lot.
It's a small kind. But how much lead is enough lead? Flint still doesn't have clean water. And California has lead in their vape carts. At least a small percentage of them. From Chinese carts. That's the problem. Their forges use lead. And all of the carts that are used in this industry, even in legal, not for long. Not for long, thanks to California's very strict. So you know what? You want clean medicine? You want clean cannabis? You're going to get it in California. Washington has lower standards than California with regards to lead. Very small amount are found in these tests so far, but any amount is no good. And 70% of the vape carts used in the industry here in California come from the same vape cart company in China, the number one. So they have to start talking to their suppliers or start using suppliers that don't provide them. Anything purchased in the state of California made after the first of the year should be clean, although they are allowed to use, they are allowed to sell what's left. So look at the manufacturing date.
Only a tiny portion tested positive.
Very, like, I mean, minuscule amount.
And we do have higher standards.
0.1% or 1%. Yeah, and we do have our high standards.
Other
I, for one, am kind of glad they're looking for lead. They're going to test this stuff and charge us ridiculous taxes and prices. They should be looking for this stuff. Meanwhile, speaking of ridiculous prices, holy moly, Ohio is getting gouged. $500 an ounce for medical cannabis in Ohio. Almost like, I think 40% or more, or even more, I think the percentage over black market prices in Ohio. So that's not good news. In Pennsylvania, however, I guess he's hearing the rumor that cannabis is useful and people want it. So there's going to be a listening tour in Pennsylvania with the lieutenant governor, who is a very interesting character. So that's going to be interesting. We'll watch a 67 county listening tour throughout Pennsylvania. So I bet they're going to hear a lot about opioids and cannabis. And a lot of people are going to tell them that they're using it right now. And they should keep going with legalization and get the plant, free the people in Pennsylvania, where you can't smoke. I don't think you can smoke flower in Pennsylvania. But that might be changing. You can, in Florida, it's changing. That's exciting. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, they're going to be trading in their tobacco for hemp. Looks like we knew that was going to happen. Hemp is, of course, officially legal, sort of, off the Schedule 1 of drugs, off of Controlled Substances Act, and the states are looking at ways to capitalize that since the farmers aren't making money on other things. So that's going to be an exploding industry. And let's get into this topic. CBS has decided to ban that PSA from Acreage Holdings. So we're going to talk about that. So those are the headlines as we get into our hour. But that's the headlines from over at dc420la.com. The headline hash. So go check that out. Sign up for the newsletter. And you'll get that in your email every Saturday. Lots of other stories in there. Lots going on. 2019 is going to be the year, the greatest year, the largest.
So far.